Well, hi. Again, it's me, and as you can see, the subject is about government manipulation through government-funded training for careers, which is what basically I'm going through. It has to do with the new career I'm trying to get going, and I am going through the program, and the program I'm going through, the training program, happens to be government-funded here in Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in Toronto. And I've done my second week, and already I'm seeing some government manipulation happening, I went through an assessment with lots of questions about basically the personality dimension question to figure out what my personal skills already are, and what kind of career, like questions about what do I want involved in the career, like what would I be what's acceptable to me, or interested in the career, like the different aspects. Do I want this aspect involved? Do I want that aspect involved? And there's a range of not interested at all, and then like extremely not interested, doesn't matter, a little bit interested, or yes, already, interested, that kind of range. And you got to go through all these questions, like hundreds, for personal skills and for the aspects involved in the career. Would you be interested in this involved, and would you be in this situation or that situation or this aspect? So I went through all the questions, and according to the results, I have a list of possible positions given by the computer or whatever, by this system, and then beside each it says fair, like the chances are fair, good to very good. And the fair, they say don't aim for the fair because it's not likely that you'll get it. So aim for the very goods. Well, according to my results, it just confirmed what I already knew about myself, that I wanted either a writing career in journalism or something like that, or something in interior decorating, something that's mostly brain work and not physical work, but I found that they added a few more that I would be happy in. But the whole thing is supposed to be about finding where you fit just perfectly, be happy in a paid position, but be getting a paid position, but somewhere where you're going to be happy working long term. Well, what happens is only certain ones, the government will only fund further education or training or volunteer, because if you volunteer, that means somehow the program is getting paid, but you're not getting paid or something for a while, and you may be hired in one of the volunteer positions. If it works out well, you may end up staying there and begin to get paid. But the problem I'm having is they're saying certain ones, even though they're what you'd be happy in, they won't pay for. Like, they won't pay for interior decorating. They won't pay, and they say you got to line up all the ducks in a row, as one of the workers says. It's not her fault. I mean, she's just a counselor worker. It's all being manipulated by the government itself, not exactly by her or any of the counselors that are directly involved. But the thing is, if what you want to do doesn't line up with what your skills, what the computer says, and what the skills says, they won't pay for it. Or if it, or there's certain things they won't pay for, which I think is wrong, because if they're saying, on one hand, they get you going, we're going to find a perfect place for you, and blah, 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 and you're going to be happy and all that. We got to figure out where you need to fit and all that, after they get all the information from you. And then, bam, they hit you with, the government won't support this, the government won't do this, they won't fund that for further education, even though you'd be happy there. That's not their goal. So that sounds to me, and it seems all the positions they are willing to fund for are positions that are under somebody else's control. They're not positions. They're not positions where you're in control of what you're doing, and you have to answer to somebody else. You have to be working for somebody else. These are the positions they are willing to help you in, but they're not really willing to help you do something that's independent from having to be answerable to a power above you, which I'm not too good at, authority. I've had to put up with it, for, in some ways, but I'm at the point in my life where I want to be my own boss, and I don't want to have to answer to anybody else but God. And I want a career that is basically self-independent, and I'll be happy in, and I've got the control of my creativity. It doesn't end up being somebody else doesn't end up with the credit for my work, for my efforts, and that's the problem. They're really pushing for so-called teamwork. Well, I'm okay with teamwork to a point, but the problem with teamwork is the individual does not get the credit. It's the team. So nobody in the group gets individual credit for their particular ideas, like their idea gets stolen by the team. And to me, that's wrong. I want credit for what I came up with. I want the credits. I don't want somebody else to get credit for something I did, which I don't think anybody can blame me for. Why should I put the effort in something and then not get the credit for it, not get the recognition for it, for all my efforts? And why should I get my ideas, my written work, and all that claimed by somebody else? And that is completely, to me, that's wrong. And so this is where I'm having problems with at this point. I have to sort out what am I willing to sacrifice to get what it is I want. Like, they'd be willing to pay me to be a secretary, let's say, but I won't be happy there for very long. I could probably do that for a little while, but it isn't going to be long-term for me, because I'll be very unhappy at not being in control of my own efforts, of not being in control of my ideas. It's like, and it will hamper my creativity. I'm a super creative person. So an office, and a strict office for me, I already knew won't work for me very long, because it's too rigid. It's like I believe there are certain rules you have to go by, yes, of course, certain boundaries, but within reason. And if the boundaries get too restrictive without flexibility, it doesn't work for me. There has to be some flexibility, and people count first before the actual paperwork or whatever. To me, the red tape thing doesn't mesh well, because it leaves out what the people are going through. Like, people count before red tape, people count before paperwork, before rules. So I have to be in a very creative environment, but laid back enough that, yes, there's certain rules you can't step out of, but within that there are many that you can be flexible with, so that everybody's happy within the framework, and nobody is overburdened, or nobody is it's like, tyranny. I don't know. It's nobody's overwhelmed or overpowered, and everybody gets the credit they should. Each person gets the credit they should get, and gets acknowledged for their efforts personally, not just a group, and then you remain anonymous among your group. That's nonsense to me. That's just me. That's the way I think. There's only so far you can carry cooperation and teamwork. And then after that, it's like, what happens to my individuality? What happened to my recognition of what I personally did? And that to me counts a lot. So what I'm upset about is that the government will be very restrictive on who they're wanting to help along, and they're only going to help along those who are willing. And some people are like that, and it's not something wrong, but it's not something bad, but that's not me. It's not, and I know there's other people out there that they're not happy following rules and following somebody else's instructions and demands and such. It's not their thing. They'd rather be the ones in the leadership because they know how, and they're more comfortable, and they're more comfortable not having to answer to somebody else other than the ultimate, you know. And so they make like, yes, they'd be willing to, that's the other thing, make that like they're willing to be paid for you to have your own business, but your own business has to be government funded business. So what is the point? If it's government funded, it's government controlled. Anytime you get any kind of government involvement in anything you do, in any of your business, it's not yours anymore. It's under the government. You have to follow the government's rules. And to me, that's not right. You should be able to have your own business without government involvement, and telling you what you can and cannot do, what you're allowed. It's bad enough the tax thing. I mean, every business out there has a certain amount of the government involved, but not where it's like 50% or, you know, or 30, or like usually the government-funded businesses are usually where the government has 60% control, and I don't believe in that. They have too much control, and the one owning the business, supposedly owning the business, has less control, and I don't believe in that. Government should stay out of those things, and because it defeats the purpose of having your own individual business. It defeats the purpose. It's completely contrary to being independent business person, I should say. Maybe, you know, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, so this is what's going on in this class that I'm taking, and I'm trying to deal with it, and I may even drop it if they insist on not helping me actually get what it is I want to get. I may just say, forget it. I don't want government in my life. I don't want government control over what I want to do in my career. And so I may have to find a different way to do what I want to do. But in the meantime, all I can do is use what I've learned, or what has been confirmed, let's say, because it's nothing so far, nothing really new. As I've learned nothing really new. All it's done, it's confirmed stuff I already knew about myself. I already knew what I wanted. I already knew who I am, what my skills are, what my weaknesses are, per se, my challenges. I already figured that out. All this has done so far is confirm what I've, you know, and it's added a few more options, but that I didn't think I would be able to. But at the same time, with those few more options, they're not even willing to support. So what is the point, you know? I mean, there are so many things I could do now that I'm finding out, because I have skills that are transferable, as they call transferable skills, that I've learned that can be used in several careers paths. So this is I'm at the point where I may end up dropping it, because it's not really benefiting me. It's wasting a lot of my time, doing nothing that's you know. So it's a volunteer placement. I've got a appointment with the one, apparently the worker that's supposed to help find me a volunteer placement to get on my resume as what have you done lately. And I may accept some of those, but if I'm stuck You know, if nothing, if they're not looking at putting me in a place that I'll be happy, then there's no point in continuing. And I'll just, you know, say forget it, because all you're trying to do is manipulate me into a certain career that I'm not even interested in being in. So, yeah, they give you a lot of hogwash. It seems to me it's a lot of BS. They get you all going, and then they start manipulating, saying that they don't manipulate. They claim, oh, we want you to be you and all that. We don't manipulate it and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they're doing exactly what they claim they're not doing. They're boxing you in a particular venue for the government's agenda. And to me, which the government's agenda, it's also happening in the States, but it's also happening here. They're trying to get everybody in subservient positions, and very few in leadership positions, unless they are all for government control. If they're all for government control, they'll put them in leadership position under everybody else who's in servitude positions, which I think it's very wrong to do. And yeah, I am not into government control of everybody's life. So that's about it. To let you know, that's about it. You can comment if you want, just politely, as I said before. Let me know if maybe you can let me know if you're going through the same sort of thing, whether in the U.S. or Canada, with these training programs that claim to be something that's going to really help you out and be in your interest, and then turn around and you know, you start seeing the BS going on. So take care. Be aware. Yeah, be aware when you're be aware of a training program or whatever. Be aware of what's going on. Don't just follow blindly. Stay alert of what's really going on behind what it's like double talk, you know, behind what they're trying to say they're saying, and then yet they're not showing, they're showing the total opposite in the actions. So, yeah, stay awake, be awake, wake up, stay awake at what's really going on, and you'll be better off that way. Even if you get persecuted for it, stand your ground, because if you don't stand on something, you'll fall for anything, as they say. And to me, that's very important. Stand your ground, be firm in your belief, whatever it is, but be awake and be aware of what's happening under the surface of what they're trying to, what people, you know, what is trying to be put out there for people to believe. Be careful what you believe. Look in further. Be aware of the underlying messages and what's going on under the surface. What is not so obvious. Look for what's portrayed as not so obvious, but it's there. Okay, take care. Blessings to everyone in Christ Jesus, always from my heart. Be safe.